Hello, Jamie from Inky and Scrappy, sharing with you today some cards that I made using Colorado Craft Company's Rose Cross. I'm using some Canson XL watercolor paper. I cut a sheet of 9 by 12 into quarters, so each finished panel ends up being 4.5 by 6 inches. I stamped the main image out with VersaFine Onyx black ink and covered it with a fine clear embossing powder, and then I will heat set them. And of course, I used a powder bag to do the anti-static powder on each panel before I stamped it to limit the stray clear embossing powder from sticking. And I'm coming in with Distress re-inkers here to color my image. This is in real time. I do not make you watch the whole process in real time. I don't have 2 hours to talk. I don't think I could talk for okay, I could talk for 2 hours. But to myself, probably not. Anyways, you're more than welcome to slow the speed down once it speeds up in the corner of your settings for video speed. I would suggest muting it though, because listening to me in slow-mo probably isn't very fun. It's kind of annoying for my kids, which means their mother does it at least, once a week probably. Anyways, I am coloring the main cross with Vintage Photo for the first layer and the second layer, and then I selectively color the second layer, and then I selectively go in with some Walnut stain re-inker to add some more shadowing and shading after it has dried. And for my green, I am using a forest moss, and I didn't like the yellow. I don't know, it was more of like an olivey. It was a really dark moss color, and I wasn't in love with it. So I added some of the prize ribbon to it to get it a little bit more of a warmer green. Is it warmer green? I don't know. A bluer green, brighter green. And then for my roses, I am using worn lipstick. And then I will color them once, and then I go right back over them. So they weren't all the way dry when I went in with the second layer of watercolor on them. Just kind of laying in some shadows and color variation in each one. So, you know how we all have a problem child? I am that child, just if anyone's wondering. My parents would probably agree. Not really, but I think I'm the problem child. Whatever. Sometimes I am. Anyways, this was my problem child panel. I decided I was going to color it outside the lines, and then, yeah, I shouldn't have done it that way, but it is what it is. For the butterflies, I went in with some mustard yellow, and then adding a little bit of that worn lipstick to the yellow to make an orange shade in there. And kind of mixing them on my panel. I'm telling you, I felt like I was a preschooler coloring outside the lines. I think that's why I don't like it. I love the look when other people do it. And I was like, I'm going to do it. It's going to look awesome. Yeah. Here's me trying to fix that awesome. Because, one would think, you have 3 other panels that you like. Why would you keep that one that you don't, But this is me, and I'm going to go down with that sinking ship all the way to the bottom. Yep. Pretty sure. So I tried fixing, and well, it is what it is. So I am going in on 2 of the other panels. I did a blue watercolor wash behind them. And I did do blue on a few of the butterflies and some of them. And this one I did go in with some of that mustard yellow and made some roses that were that peachy red. They're not fire and ice. I don't remember what they're called, but I think they're pretty. I did some super fast watercoloring on those butterflies because I was going to cut them out. And I tried cutting one out. Well, I cut one out and I realized, yeah, my thumb was still probably not going to manage to do all of them. So I put them on my scan and cut mat, scanned them. It wanted to cut around the funny shapes. And so I ended up going in and adjusting the color because I do a color scan. And I adjusted the color setting all the way down to like 0, I think is what it lets you go to. And so it only picked up the black lines and then it cut them out. I learned something new today, Mom. Aren't you proud of me? So I thought that was a cool trick. And yes, I might have tried doing that with the panel here and it didn't work. So instead, I ended up going in with some pearl acrylic paint. I just watered it down and I splattered that panel like nobody's business. Like sprinkling holy water on Easter Sunday. I did go back in with my rag as I'm sitting here making a little rag motion because I couldn't think of the word, but nobody can see me. It's all great. So went in with the rag and kind of blotted up some of those splatters off of the text. And then I was trying to decide if I wanted to splatter all of the other panels. And I decided, nope, just the problem child. And so here's me after everything has dried. I am going in with my pre-cut card-based panel. I don't know what you would call them. They're like my, just a flat sheet of paper that kind of, okay, here's what the card front size is, to kind of figure out if I wanted it to be a big card, little card, middle card. My problem with this stamp is that the sentiment is wide, and so I can't cut it down to do like a mini slim or a slim line because it would cut the words off on the sides, where if it was just an image I wouldn't mind cutting a portion of it off, but it didn't really work that way with the sentiment up on top, but which is fine. I ended up going with a 5x7 card here. And no, I wouldn't have needed to use 2, but I don't have these ones cut apart because then they work for a little thin frame, which is kind of nice. I don't have to measure. And so, I leave them together and just run them through like that. It's just me making a little bit more out of my, die cuts. Those were from Trinity Stamps. They've got like that embossed edge to them. I like them. So I did use the scan and cut to try to cut out the 4th panel, and it did work on this one because there was no outside coloring. I did delete the 2 other butterflies and hand cut them out because otherwise it would cut around my image and then cut those butterflies out, but would cut into the other image that was already. If you have a brother scan and cut and your images are too close, you know what I mean. It's just kind of how it works. So I took those fast colored butterflies that I'd stamped and quick watercolored and then cut out with the brother scan and cut. And I used those to cover up 2 of the butterflies that were colored in my image. And I think that one in the middle kind of gets lost there. Maybe that was part of my issue. And then that other one on the bottom had way too much yellow all the way around it. So I didn't really like it. But I ended up adding 3 popped up ones, and I realize now that there are 3 flat ones. So I like it. I really kind of like it. Let me know what you think. Do you like that look? I mean, I like the look, but I never like it when I do it. I don't know. I'm weird. That's just how I roll, I guess. I don't know. I am trying to find papers to match. I ended up going with close to my heart pink that was called Smoothie, and then the yellow is Sunny Yellow. And okay, that problem child panel really is a problem child panel. I did not like it on an A2 size. I was going to have to cut too much off. So Tim Holt said in one of his last videos that, you make your card, whatever size you make your card, you can make the card to fit whatever. You don't have to go within the confines. So that's what I did with this one. I do have some invitation envelopes that I picked up at Walmart. They're a number 6, which is a 4 3/4 by 6.5. Platform pop-up envelopes. Possibly gonna try that. And so I knew I could find an envelope. If I had to do a 5 by 7, I would have, but I didn't have to with that in between size. And so I just cut my card base down to like 6 inches I just folded a piece of paper in half and then I just cut off to fit my mat, and it worked very well. I think that finished card size ended up being 4 and a little over a half by 6 and a little over a 1/4 of an inch. And so it'll work fine in that number 6 envelope. This is my next one, which is going to be a full A2 panel. And since my thumb's been broken, I have been struggling to get panels lined up properly. That whole needing the wrist and that thumb to move freely on your left hand to do the thing, to get it to line up right, is beyond me. And so I have been using my Misty to put card fronts on a lot more than I was before. And I really do love how easy it makes it. I really need to probably do more of that, especially when you're going straight for lining them up in the corner, not like this one where you're trying to mat it and make the mat look fairly similar. My cards aren't perfect, just don't measure. I'm speaking to my brothers because I could see one of them doing that. You know, your card panel is off a little bit. Yep, I do. I'm not perfect. Anyways, I'm throwing this one on a 5 by 7 card base that I made using some Accent Opaque Digital Cover Smooth in, I bought the new weight for me is 100-pound weight, so it's a little bit lighter than their 110-pound weight, and it's a little bit lighter than the Neenah 110. So but it's still a very heavy, sturdy card base. I love it. Anywho's, so this last one, I had finished the other 3 the night before, and I was kind of thinking this one I was going to go total grunge and take out all of my Tim Holtz, like planks and make a really cool background thingy. And we got a phone call that one of our friends passed away very unexpectedly. Was just one of those things. And so, I was like, oh, well, this was originally what I had bought this set for, was for sympathy cards. Not that I hate making sympathy cards, because obviously we know why we have to make sympathy cards, and so I don't like doing them. And so I saw this set. I didn't particularly care for the sentiment on the cross, but I knew that I could cut the sentiment off of this one and make it into a very pretty sympathy card. And so that's what this one ended up being. I had just gotten a rose embossing, like a 3D embossing folder from Sizzix. I picked it up at Hobby Lobby for like $2. It was like 90% off or whatever it was. That's why it was in my cart. And so when I was looking I wanted to do a white on white emboss, just something that was, I don't have a lot of cover panel dies, and the few that I had weren't going to look right. And I saw this rose one and I was like, ooh, that'll be pretty. And it is. It lends to be a very elegant looking finished card product, and I love that final look to it. I am using a sentiment in this one from Brutus Monroe's Homegrown Happiness set, and then just adding a simple single butterfly on top of it, and then finishing by adding those 2 hand-cut butterflies that I didn't get cut with the Scan and Cut. to the front. And this one I left super plain and simple. I didn't add any other embellishments to it. And I absolutely love how it turned out. It looks very elegant. And so here are the rest of them that were Easter cards. And then their subsequent insides to the ones that were a little bit different. And my problem child card. I do kind of like it in the end. Let me know what you think. Do you like that outside the line coloring or not so much? This is Jamie signing off. Thank you.